So what's going on, guys? It's Visionary Vega, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Mark My Words podcast, where you can say what you want, but you are what you do. Mark my words, I will be great. Listen, today I'm super excited because we have an awesome guest. I know you hear it all the time. Today we have a special guest. No, but somebody that we have here today to speak to us is dope. I've been following his page, since one of our mutual friends actually brought him up to me, and he's in the same space as me, and I was like, whoa, this dude really knows what he's talking about. You hear a lot of people nowadays in the branding space just kind of fluff talking, and then kind of some theory that they probably heard on GPT, or they're regurgitating what they heard online, but you can tell when someone's genuine and has experience. So I'm super excited to welcome my guest today, Mr. Joe Mccarthy. What's going on?
What's up? Appreciate the intro.
Of course, man. The digital marketer, killing it, brand strategist, coach, right? Gem Social that you're running.
Yep.
So it's exciting, man. I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your story, right? From farmer to planting the seed of a plentiful harvest, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's get it, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience who you are.
Yeah, Joe Mccarthy, personal brand coach, entrepreneur, business owner. Like you mentioned briefly, started off humble beginnings on a small farm in Virginia. I was raising like chickens, sheep, pigs, stuff like that. And I was using social media to essentially sell the farm product. So that's sort of like a segue into me getting into branding and content and stuff like that. I've always been like a creative kid, wanting to, do my own thing, be my own boss, create content, be creative, make little movies. And so it's just cool that I've been able to utilize that and eventually segue that into making that like a full-time business for myself.
That's dope, man. You would not expect, like, most people, you're like, all right, what'd you jump into first? I jumped in here. No, you're just like, okay, starting at the farm, selling on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, literally.
That's dope, man. So what was that pivot like? I mean, what made you, first off, being in the farm, most people would not think to bring digital marketing into the farm world in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So from that humble beginning to where you are now, almost 500,000 followers online, 7,500 plus brands that you've already helped to grow and scale. What else, man? Millions of views, the accolades and the achievements, the list just continues. How does someone go from on the farm with, chickens and some eggs to all of that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a funny story because the thing is I had the classic entrepreneur problem. I had the product and I had all the supply, but I did not have the demand. Right. So I had all the fridge full of eggs, I had freezers full of chickens, and like no matter what, I just couldn't sell it. Like I was literally like knocking on people's doors, trying to sell it to my aunts and uncles. I was trying to like put up road signs and like maybe I'd get a sale here or there, but like it was not enough. So I was trying to brainstorm. I was like, how can I market this stuff and like get it to more people? And I never once thought about opening Facebook or Instagram for like my business with the farm until I saw this other farmer in my area who was utilizing social media to sell his products and like do vlogs and like show people around his farm and like show people that they have chickens available or eggs available. So
you were like, bet he's not gonna be the only famous farmer around here.
Like, you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna build a brand. I'm gonna launch it. I'm gonna just sell my farm products and like vlog myself doing farm chores. And next thing I know, I was selling out. So that's when it kind of clicked in my head. Like, oh shoot, like this is a tool. Like I can use this social media thing to get the word out and make some money.
That's dope, man, too. Because it's cool too to see that you didn't like try to change who you were, right? To go in there. Like a lot of times people are like, oh, chickens are not sexy. I can't go sell eggs online. Like I need to be this. They think instantly social. They equate the social presence or the status of building a personal brand. It needs to be the Lambos. It needs to be flashy content, talking head. And they would have been like, oh, this product is not not something I should make content about. But you had that shift. What was that mindset like? Like what was that thought process?
Yeah, I mean, like ultimately at the time, I just wanted to make some money. I was like, you know what? Like we got all this product. I'm like, we're not really selling it. I want to make a few bucks. So I was trying to think of like, how can I do that? And so at the time, just having the farm product, I was like, might as well find a way to sell this online. So, and that's what I did. And it's funny that you mentioned like the Lambos and the flashy lifestyle because this crazy segue, which it's crazy how it worked out, but the reason that I even got into like the digital marketing side and like personal branding and coaching is I think it was like 2018 or 2019. Like I was a young kid at the time, and literally Ty Lopez was like the up and coming.
In my garage?
Yeah, in my garage, read the books, and like he had this SMMA course. And what's funny is So I was a big like sustainable farmer, which means that I would like raise my chickens and the sheep and all that like very sustainably, like on land.
Yeah.
So they were like grass fed, pasture raised. And one of the pioneer farmers who taught essentially how to build a farm business was this guy, Joel Salatin. Now, Joel Salatin was actually Ty Lopez's first mentor. And if you were to listen to like Ty's podcast, like you go back on some of his old content or YouTube or, his videos, he's always talking about his first mentor, Joel Salatin. So this guy, Joel Salatin, funny enough, he lived like 2 hours away from my farm in Virginia. I went to his farm, met him in person.
Awesome.
And I watched a podcast that he was creating with this other, like, I don't know if you know London Real, this guy, Brian Rose, he's out in London. And at the time, it was a massive podcast. And so he was asking Joel Salatin, like, what was it like driving in Ty Lopez's Lamborghini? And at the time, I didn't know who Ty Lopez was. I was like, what? What is he talking about?
Who's that guy?
Next thing I know, I look him up. I see the mansions and Beverly Hills and the cars and the books. And the biggest thing he was saying was read books. And so that was kind of the segue from, from farm to online farming, but then from online stuff to like actually selling digital marketing was this Ty Lopez stuff. So like literally I would go read a ton of books, business entrepreneurship, stuff like that, Napoleon Hill. And I was posting all that stuff on my brand, which is at Real Joe McCarthy now. And next thing you know, I blew it up and here we are. So it's pretty crazy.
Funny because Ty's even in farming now. You see a lot of his content. He's chilling on his farm. So it's funny how the reverse happened there.
I know.
Okay, so what are some of those books? You said read books. I would imagine that you took the advice and you started reading the books. Yeah. We don't have to go too deep into them, but like shoot a quick list of a couple that you feel like made a difference for you.
Think and Grow Rich. I think that was the biggest one. I think that's like the foundational book about business success, mindset, entrepreneurship. I read Grant Cardone's 10X Rule. Simple book, but very impactful for my life. Just thinking big and like making big goals. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, kind of like made it very clear assets versus liabilities. I think that was good for just foundational financial advice. And what else do we got? I'd say those are like the core ones. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a classic one about, psychology and how to make friends and like meet people, build that business acumen. So just classic books like that. And I think I read like 50 by the time I was 16. So I had a plethora of knowledge and I just started posting what I was learning. So.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So throughout this process, right, you get introduced to, Ty Lopez, his mentor, you're understanding digital marketing a little bit, it's starting to flow and you're starting to get some results at the farm, right? There's obviously a pivotal moment where you're like, okay, there's something more to this. And I think I'm getting good at it, right? What do you feel was like that pivotal moment for you? And like, I guess the second part of that question is like, what was your like, mark my words moment, right? You know what? Like, mark my words, I'm going to make this work, right? You're like, there's more to this and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to take a different route.
Yeah, that's a funny question. I don't think I've ever forgot that first question, but funny enough, so it was right before COVID, and I was selling like these highlight covers, like the highlights on Instagram.
Yeah,
I would sell highlight covers for $30, and at the time, the only thing I've ever sold was chickens and eggs. I had never sold anything else. Maybe candy to my siblings.
The title of this video: chickens and eggs.
Yeah, literally. So like literally, all I've ever sold was like chickens and eggs, maybe some candy. So when I read those books and like started learning about Ty Lopez, I was like, I need to come up with like a digital product, something that's not physical, something that I could get clients from like wherever I want, no matter where they're at. And I just wanted to sell something like that. So I just decided like, okay, I'm good with Canva. I'll just create some highlight covers for people. So I had this one chick who was like, hey, I saw you do, highlight covers. I saw you're promoting that on your story. And they were like, hey, can I like Venmo you $30 and you can create me some covers? So I created the covers, she Venmo'd me $30. And then I was like, whoa, that was
easy. Hold on.
Yeah, I was like, I can do this. So I just started like selling a ton of highlight covers. And then that segued me into like online high ticket sales, which we can talk about that too. But
this was 2018, 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
Oh, not that far back.
Not too much. I mean, I'm 23, so like I'm very young.
That's dope, man.
But yeah, like in high school. So that was like the pivotal moment where I was like, well, shoot, like I could do make something out of this social media thing. And what was the second part of
The
your
second
question?
part of the question. So, like, when you realized that pivot, right? What was like the mark my words moment? Like, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I know, like back then, now social media is popping, but before people were just like, doing the creator thing. There was like some Vine videos, things
Yeah.
like that. But like, there was a lot of people that still doubted it. So I'm sure there was a lot of doubt that was against you. Family. I know that
Yeah.
I experienced that when they're like, "Come on, branding. What the heck is that? Like, you're doing what for people? You're like making some graphics in the computer. Like, so what was that mark my words moment that you feel like you had to like prove a point to yourself or to your family? Like, what was that moment that happened?
Yeah. Great question. So there was one day in high school, and as I started building the social media, building the personal brand, I was getting more and more flack and hate for it. Because like in my high school, like everybody, they were just taught, go to college, get a job, do your thing, like business and entrepreneurship, especially online coaching. Like you said, like at the time, it was like not very heard
Like
of.
scarce, yeah.
Like people don't really like when I said like when I tried to explain what I did, they were like, "Well, that's not even like a real thing. That's not."
They thought it was real scamish. You had a lot of like Ty Lopez in my garage, or
Yeah.
you had like the Billy Genius.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of those videos. They're like, you trying to do the YouTube thing, the ads thing, where they're just selling a fake course.
So they all were like doubting me, and there was like one day where it's just like tons of hate, like, oh, you're like scamming people, getting people from the Philippines to work with you, blah blah blah, VAs, and like a lot of crazy stuff. And like on the bus ride home from school, I was like, I'm going to make this thing be worth like 7 figures plus. I'm gonna build my brand, launch my offers, make a crap ton of money, and they're gonna see that and be like, he was right. So I guess that was like my mark my words.
So at that moment, like college was not in the plan. You're like, yo,
Screw that.
This ends here. 7-figure agency.
Yeah.
Dope. So I would assume, like most of us, it didn't just jump straight forward, right? So what was that like after that mark my words moment? How did you progress, and what did that challenge or that path look like?
Yeah. It was a lot of trial and error, like figuring out like how to market myself, how to launch my offer properly, even just the mindset of like, can I charge like thousands of dollars for this stuff? Like that was a big story, like limiting belief I had to uncover because I was 20. I was 19 or 20. So like what 20-year-old has the confidence to go charge 3 to 5K? So it was like a big mindset thing, I feel like. And even with me like hiring coaches, like I was telling a couple other people recently, like I've invested so much money into coaching, courses, marketing, branding, mentorships, just because they can show you a specific route to follow and save you a ton of time and headache. Whereas you trying to figure it out, spinning your wheels, it's like it could take you months, if not years, to do it yourself.
Right.
So at the time, I was just like, you know what? I just need to invest into coaches because I spent probably a handful of years actually just throwing content at the wall, hoping it sticks, didn't really grow, trying to market, do DMs, trying to book calls, didn't really grow. So once I hired coaches, that's when everything took off. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of like trial and error to test and figure out what works and what doesn't.
I think coaches and mentors are one of the most important things that you can invest in your life, but it's also one of the most dangerous things you can do if you're not getting the right coach. Not necessarily knocking any coaches, but I mean, there could be somebody that has the right path, but it's not the right path for you. And then there's a lot of them that just, it's feeding you fluff.
Deliver, yeah.
So it's finding that balance, because there are great coaches, but you have to make sure you find the one that's great for you. So that's important. It's dope to hear that you found one that helped you early on. I mean, 23 already with all the success that you have, that's dope. So, kind of going a little bit before we jump into that, going a little bit backwards, you said you created all these digital assets, right? You were doing the Canva docs. Did you go straight into your own offer, or did you go into like, I know a lot of people kind of pivot and start, working with other people's offers, doing more of like high ticket closing, high ticket sales. If I'm not mistaken, you did that as well, right?
Yeah. So like there's a very big gap from like the Canva graphics to my offer that I have now.
Okay.
So in that gap, majority of it was high ticket sales. So basically what I started doing is I was like learning from all these books. I was posting on my social media page, which now is at Real Joe McCarthy. And I was just putting out content, just trying to grow it and teach people what I was learning. And some random guy hit me out of the blue being like, Leo, you got great content. Like you should get in, like, do you have an offer? And I'm like, no. It's like, oh, well, you should utilize your brand to like get leads and make money. Like we have an offer, basically helps people grow and get featured in articles and like digital marketing and ads and outreach and all kinds of different services. And I basically hopped on their team, started selling for them, and this was in high school. So at the same time of me building my personal brand, I was also doing the high ticket sales thing. And they have services ranging from a couple $100 all the way to $50,000 plus. So like I was selling like $3,000 to $5,000 deals pretty consistently, making like 25% commission. So as a young ninth grade, 10th grade kid, like I could easily rack in
several,
like,
several $1,000s.
yeah, 3 to 5K, 5 to 7K. I think last year high school I did 10K, which was wild.
10K a month, like consistently.
Yeah, and that was profit too. Like that was 10K commissions. Like I had sales in that business where I would do like 100K in sales.
That's dope.
And that's where it clicked with my offer. I'm like, okay, I'm making this guy 100K a month in sales. If I have my own offer,
I could see where you lose your limiting belief mindset during that for sure. You know, most people they set that goal 100K. If I could just become six figures, 6 figures. It's like cracked it in high school.
Yeah.
You know, pretty consistent. I could see where it's like, okay, now we got something going in. Dope.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. So let's, moving forward into there, it seems like so much has happened in a short period of time. You were talking about 2018, all of this was flowing. So from that pivot point, in high school, building up the business to like now, right? So dadpreneur, that's something that resonates with me, a lot. And prior to us getting on the show, you were asking about my daughter. You mentioned you have a 3-year-old as well. It seems like you've experienced a lot of life in a short amount of time, right? You're married.
Yep.
So married with a 3-year-old, dadpreneur, cracked 6 figures in high school. Like how has that been for you? Like, how do you feel like that's helped the trajectory of your life? Like being exposed to so much so early, whereas as most of your peers are probably, still partying and going crazy. Like
they just got out of college, which is crazy. I mean, it's forced me to level up, right? It's like I can't give my daughter the best life or give my wife the best life if I'm not also elevating, right? Me making 6 figures, it's like you have to become a specific person to be worthy of doing 6 figures, right? Like I can't just have the same beliefs or have the same mindset or show up on camera the same way as I did in high school. If I wanted to keep on hitting record months and, hitting these accolades and becoming a father and a husband. So it's forced me to like really level up my skills, become more aware, like self-aware. I think it's easy for like single guys in entrepreneurship or coaching to like just be like focus all on like the me, the business, making money, like helping people. But when you introduce like a spouse or like a partner and you introduce a child, it's like now there's a whole other like flow to how you need to go about your entire life. So it's forced me to like learn things, level up in a much quicker fashion. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was actually earlier this morning, I was on a podcast with attorney Kevin Sullivan. Yeah, he's got his Not By Accident podcast, and I was on there. Shout out to Kev. We were actually talking about the same thing. He's like, saying how he evolved and his content shows a lot more of being a dad and showing his life. And, that's something that's important for me. In my content, I'm doing the same thing consistently. Like, I think my video I just posted yesterday was me going on stage. My daughter's with me and I'm rocking a Labubu instead of like focusing on, I got to be extra polished and I have to be this, bachelor life. It's more like, what is important and like, how do you show that your life is evolving, you're changing, like in the dynamic of your brand?
Yeah.
And I feel like for myself personally, like one of the most important pillars is being a dadpreneur. And like you might be a disservice to your audience by not showing that because you're so focused on like, oh no, it has to be this, it has to be this.
Yeah.
So it's dope to see like, how you find that balance and say, okay, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of this in there, but also I'm not gonna lose myself on that.
Yeah.
That's dope. So I mean, in the Mark My Words podcast, right? Mark my words. It's a play on words. Obviously, it stands for 2 things. Mark my words. Obviously, the statement, that challenge, right? Because a lot of times, in entrepreneurship, everybody wants to show you the sexy side of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. I tell everyone, entrepreneurship is not sexy. It's rewarding. There's a difference. So there's the Mark My Words statement, but it's also, as you can see, Mark, like register Mark, the play on words, being that we're both in branding. So let's talk a little bit more about your brand, right? You've mentioned it and how it's helped you, how it's helped propel you forward, from being in the farm to being, working with some of the top brands in the world, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So what was that process like building your brand? And like, what were some of the steps that you took? What were some of the strategies that you've learned and implemented while building out your brand?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I feel like a lot of people skip is just like the straightforward, boring, unscalable work, which is like getting clarity.
Yeah.
Right. The clarity is very underrated. I think a lot of people, they jump into posting and they jump into content because Gary Vee and all these gurus say like, yeah, just post content, like get content. But one thing I did, which has served me, is figuring out like who specifically am I trying to target? Who can I help? What are their pain points? Like what's that core desire they're trying to achieve? And then how can me as like a coach or an authority help them go from point A to point B? So I got clear like from the get-go, like I want to help coaches. I want to help them with this, this, and that. This is what they're going through. This is the customer language. And the more specific I got on those foundational things, the easier it was to grow with the right audience. So that was some of the first things that I did to build the brand. And then little things here and there, just like figuring out the aesthetic. Like if you go to my page, it's red, right? Like you kind of know me by the red stuff. I have like my signature here. I wear a shirt with my signature. Most of my content has a signature on it. My branding accelerator has like the signature. So I try to like find little ways that I can brand myself so people know like, oh, that's real Joe McCarthy. That's that guy.
With it, yeah.
So it keeps them top of mind, keeps them like, oh, okay, it's segments me out, like kind of gives me an edge. And that way I'm not like jumbled in with every other content coach out there, branding coach. You know, we want to make sure that we have little edges and figure out ways that we can differentiate ourselves. So that's how I went about it, is like obviously first impression wise, making sure the aesthetic is on point. They're going to remember it. It's very clean and concise. But then on a deeper level, figuring out like, what am I here to do? What are my values and opinions? Who can I help? Who can I serve? Who is this? What is this brand for? Like, who is it for? Yeah. Who am I trying to speak to? Those are the biggest things.
That's awesome, man. I love that you broke it down like that. I'm sitting here just smirking it and nodding my head, man, because I like so many people skip it. Like you said, that like there's just so much content online nowadays where it's hard to figure out what advice you take. And unfortunately, like a big thing that you hear online is like, you just got to be consistent, man. You just got to consistency. Everybody's like, yes, consistency is important, but too much of anything is not good. Yeah. So if you're consistently posting the wrong crap, like you're going in, you're moving, but you're going in the wrong direction. And like, I love that you mentioned that like you kind of took a step back. If you think of it kind of like the slingshot, you pulled back, and that's what allowed you to propel forward. The fact that you took a second to find the clarity, you took a second to refine your message. Before you got on camera, you knew who you were speaking to and what you were speaking about. So then when you actually let go, boom, you propel forward.
Yeah.
Like my clients sometimes, I mean, it's a love-hate thing. Like I joke, I tell them I'm Mr. Miyagi. Like you're going to get pissed because they're like, I'm ready to go. They're ready to get in front of a camera. They're ready to drop this. Let's get my logo going. I want to print some merch. I want to get that. They want the red. They want the signature on everything. I'm like, slow down. Learn wax on, wax off first. Yeah. And they're like, man, when are you going to teach me karate? And I'm like, hold on, do this. And they're like, oh shit, I'm blocking punches now. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, let's pull back for a second. Before we focus on your visual identity, before we focus on dropping content, let's focus on your verbal identity. Like, what does that foundation look like? What story are you telling? And then, okay, now we know what story you're telling and how you're going to tell it. Who are you telling the story to? Because now our delivery has to be important. Yeah. So the fact that you just said all of that, I mean, it's music to my ears.
Yeah. I mean, it's key. It's like you can post a ton of, like you said, you can post as much content as you want, but if it's the wrong content, you're not getting anywhere. Like just because you're doing things doesn't mean we're moving the needle forward.
What do you feel is like, well, I'm sure you have tons of, your own proprietary framework strategies. Like, what do you feel is one of your favorite or like mandatory, doesn't matter what industry, doesn't matter what type of brand you're building, like this is the framework that I use. Like what strategy, what are some of the things that you're doing with your clients?
Yeah. So for instance, I have this thing called the Clarity Workbook that I drive my clients through just to ask them the right questions in the right order to get clarity on this stuff. Like that's the other thing is to get clear on things, you need to ask questions, but you want to ask the right questions that will lead to the right results. So that's the first thing, is just the Clarity Workbook. Second thing is just helping them structure out systems and processes for how we go about building this thing. Because I get a lot of my clients, they're like business owners or coaches, and they have kids, and they don't have time to necessarily sit in front of camera all day long. So we want to create processes around that where they can batch create 10, 15, 20 pieces of content in 2 hours on like a random Saturday and then have a backlog. So it's all about just figuring out how can we stay consistent, but how can we get clear and make sure that no matter what, we're able to put out the right content, no matter what's going on in their life. But yeah, I mean, I could talk for days about like specifics on like how to get clear, how to post content, like how to get reach and all that stuff. But it really does just come down to get clear on your goals, get clear on your brand, clear on your target audience, the customer language, and then figure out a way that you can be radically consistent with that content.
The clarity is important. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that most people are missing is that clarity, right? Yeah. You hear it all the time. It's the brand is the gut feeling. They just need to know, like, and trust you. But most people don't even know themselves.
Yeah.
So, like, what are some of the things that you're doing to make sure that they get clarity? So when they come to you, okay, you're all jumbled up. I'm sure they're like, hey, Joe, I want to, be the next, so forth, and I want to get 500,000 followers like you. What are some of the things that you do to help them get that clarity?
I have them ask why. Why do you want that? Why are you even building this brand in the first place? Why do you want to help these people? It really just comes down to asking why. The other thing too is just like listing out. I have them take everything that's in their head, just brain dump it into this workbook. Like, what are your values? What are your beliefs? What are your opinions? What do you stand for? What do you not stand for? What are some misconceptions in the industry that you're in that you don't agree with? Because like if you don't have a backbone and you're not showing people your beliefs and opinions on your topic, then it's just gonna be surface level. So I just have them like dump it all into this workbook, just like lay it out there, right? Like, what are some of those key things, key attributes that you stand for? And then how do we even tie in your story? Like you briefly mentioned, how do we take your story and put that into a cohesive brand? Like, how do we tie that into your reels or tie that into your content where not only do the people who are watching it feel seen, heard, understood, but they feel like you've been through that journey as well. So it's all about just refining, but we can't refine it if we can't just get it out of your head onto this paper, like into ChatGPT, so we can start refining some scripts.
Yeah, most people, they already have the answers. It's just a matter of fact, just like looking at what the bigger picture is and figuring out where do you place those things, because they're just unorganized, right? Yeah. So you mentioned, people having a lot of like, okay, being clear and helping them find clarity in their own industries and answering misconceptions in your own industry, right? One that we actually share in branding. What do you feel is like one of the biggest misconceptions that most people have about branding and personal branding?
This might be a little controversial, but I think
that was my next question. I was going to ask you, what's one of your most controversial, things that you believe in branding that most people, would think opposite?
Let's put it into one question. So I would say the biggest misconception that's also a little controversial is I think people assume that you have to grow completely organically, not spend a dime on marketing or anything like that to be like genuine and authentic. Like I hear people brag like, oh, I've not spent a penny on ads. I've not spent a penny on marketing. I'm like, that's not a flex. That just means you haven't taken your resources and deployed it to reach probably 10 times more people. So ever since I started growing my brand, I've always been a proponent of not just investing into coaching, but investing into my brand. Like I would pay people to create my content. I'd pay people to get it out to more people. Like I've done these like shout outs and all. I tested all kinds of ramp stuff, right? But like if I was to say like, yeah, I did these shout outs and like got featured on these pages to help me grow my following more quickly and like more just on a quicker note, like people automatically assume like, oh, you cheated. Like, oh, you're supposed to grow completely organically. When in reality, like you take Alex Ramosi, he spends $50,000 a month on his content alone. He spent millions of dollars in ads before his book launch for like the $100 million money models. They're spending money, right? So like if you want to be a top dog or if you even want a shot at like getting out there and building your brand, you probably should invest, whether it's ads or investing into podcasts, investing into other people's audiences, investing into marketing and boost. Like I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but I think people assume that if you invest in any of that stuff, it's somehow like cheating, which I don't agree with at all.
It's about finding that balance also, right? Like you don't want to just, because there's a lot of people that have the resources and they think that just starting out, okay, I have pretty much no clarity on my story, no structure. My offer's not good on the back end, but I'm going to go run a bunch of money on ads because we bulked out some content. That's probably not good either, right?
I go on spiels almost every podcast. I'm like, dude, the timing of ads is crucial. Like, so I see way too many people, they jump right into ads. Again, they're not clear on the foundations. They're not clear on their marketing. They're not clear on their whole personal brand itself. So like you said, you're kind of just like spending all this money on stuff that's not working. Yeah. I actually tell people, like, if you're not doing at least $8,000 to $10,000 per month organically, you have no business jumping right into ads because you haven't found that proof of concept. Like organic is meant to essentially show people and show you that you have something that people want. Like it's proven to work, right? So like even with me, I didn't spend a dime on ads or boost or anything until I was doing 10K per month consistently. Because then what you can do is you take what's working and then you put money behind it. Like it's like putting fuel on a fire, right? Like the fuel is the ads, you put fuel on the fire, it blows up. gets
If it
out to
worked
the right
organically,
people.
it's definitely going to work paid, right?
Yeah, but it's like, let's say you have like some damn firewood, which is maybe your content right now
Right.
with a lack of clarity.
Right.
Pouring all that gasoline, you're just wasting all that gasoline on some damn firewood. It's not going to blow up.
Then you're blaming the agencies you're working with. You're blaming this. You're blaming that.
Yeah.
You're changing strategies that you might not have needed to change if you used them at the right time.
Exactly. So timing is always crucial. Like making sure that you have the foundations first, so that way it's proof of concept. So then you can blow it up with ad spend.
So with your personal brand, I mean, almost $500,000. That's no, small thing, right? Was it consistent growth, or did you, have to experience a lot of trials and, different things, challenges in the beginning, and then just stick it through? And then was there a growth spurt where the majority of your audience came, or was, because you've been in the industry for what, 8 years now?
Yeah.
8 years. So was it consistent over the 8 years, or was there a majority of the forefront, where it was like more just like figuring things out, and then the last 2, 3, 1, it popped off? How did that growth happen?
Yeah, it's very random, honestly. So like the first 2 or 3 years, it was very much like trial and error, trying to figure it out. So there's very little growth, very slow in the beginning. Then I'd say year 3 to 5 is probably the biggest spurt. So I think that was probably around COVID time. So that was a big thing too, is I really took advantage of everyone's locked in their homes. They're on their phones scrolling. I'm like, if I'm going to do content, now is the time to do it.
Right.
So I got lucky with like having that like 2 to 3 year window. That's where majority of my growth came from. But then even recently, like meeting people like you, hopping on others' podcasts, and like just networking in the South Florida area.
Right.
That has helped a ton with like helping me get back into momentum with growth. So the last like 2 years since like 2024, it has actually started growing a lot more consistently, which is nice.
Awesome. So in those last 2 years, you mentioned you invested in a bunch of different things, right? You said you invest into your brand. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Like, what are some of the things that you're doing to invest into your brand? Like, where are you placing some of your budget or allocating that budget to?
Yeah, well, the first thing is just like the whole look of the page, making sure I have people to do tasks that I don't want to do. So a video editor, I should have done that a long time ago, but pay a guy $25 to $30 per video and they'll chop it up for you. It looks professional. So that was the big investment early couple years ago that I made the move to, and that's worked out swimmingly because I now have way more time on my hands. But in terms of like growth and marketing, so this is, I don't know how well known this is, but like there's all these other pages out there, like theme pages, or you look at like Millionaire Mentor, you probably scroll through their page and you'll see all kinds of other online marketers on there all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, you scroll through, hey, check this guy out for like Amazon FBA or whatever random business they're running. But what they're doing is they're spending money almost as a billboard to get featured on this page to tap into their audience. So for instance, I've been on Millionaire Mentors page dozens of times. And they have like 8 to 10 million followers. So they're all business owners, coaches, entrepreneurs. So I just try to tap into other people's networks, and like Tanner Chet there's all kinds of other growth-minded business owners, coaches, and people in the industry that have been doing this for a long time, and they're getting featured on these pages as well. So that was a big one too, is just like finding other pages, whether it's like a theme page, business page, entrepreneur page, tapping into their audience, whether it's like paying a couple $100 to get a post, like a feed post about my brand, and like having them check out my link and follow me.
Right.
That's been huge. Like that's a good way just to get growth. And I don't know how much I've spent on that, but I do know that my return is 6x. So like I could spend $1,000 on these like shout out campaigns or whatever. I know for a fact I'm going to make 6K. So like I just, by running those, and you also get growth and get more exposure and reach. So again, going back to like the mindset around it, people might see that and be like, oh, you didn't grow organically. And it's like, I never said I grew to 400, 500K organically. I invest into like tapping into other people's networks and ads and stuff like that. But I do it in a strategic way that's also going to get me clients and get me people that I can actually impact in my programs.
It's so crazy to see how underutilized or underestimated those that simple approach is, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they're like, they want to make so much money, but they're scared to invest. They're like, I'm not gonna pay that page. It's all they do is just post random stuff. And hearing it from yourself, hearing it from somebody with almost 500,000 followers, it starts to
it works.
I guess that's why it works so well, right? Because there's not so many people willing to do it. They're always scared to make the investment, for sure.
Yeah.
So within that time frame, right? Like you said, most of it came from that 3 to 5 year mark. In those first years, especially, was there ever a moment that you felt like you doubted that mark my words moment? Like, dang, you know what? This shit probably isn't working the way I thought it was gonna work. Like, is there any moments that you face like that within growing, or have you consistently just like kind of been blind faith and it's been paying off?
So I recently put out a post, like a carousel post, and one of it basically summarized 3 traits that have helped garner my success today. I think one of them was like obnoxious confidence. Another one was like crazy work ethic. And then the third one was self belief before evidence. So you obviously can't necessarily be confident or certain if there's no evidence to back it up.
Mhm.
So I would say I had like a abnormal amount of like confidence and like self belief that like no matter what, I knew I was meant to do something more, meant to do something different, pay my own lane, build my own brand, build my own business. But I would definitely say I doubted the vehicle or like how to go about it. Like I mean, there was probably times where I was like, maybe I shouldn't be posting on Instagram. Maybe there's another way to do this. Maybe I shouldn't be doing DM outreach. Maybe I shouldn't, be doing all this talking head content. Maybe there's another way to go about this.
Mhm.
So the vehicle and the how, definitely there's always, even like today, I'm like, I wonder if there's a better way to do this, or I wonder if there's an easier way to do that. Like it's always going through my head because we want to get better as coaches and entrepreneurs. But I never doubted for a second that like I was going to build this thing. Like mark my words.
Mark my words.
I don't know. I don't care how I get there, but I am going to be successful.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome for sure. So, I'm sure you hear it all the time too. Like people are like, oh, it's easy for you to say, you got, so forth, but they fail to realize, yeah, before I got this or this many followers. Another thing is like, do you ever get any, like with that same thing? People that like, they all equate all the success to the followers that you have now, right? Talk about like what is your opinion in a sense, because I know it can be controversial, but I don't always think that views, eyes, and followers equate to dollars. I know people that have 2+ million followers and can't make $1. They're struggling. And they're looking at doing all type of side hustles. So like, what's your opinion on that? And like, what's the advice you would give to somebody that either has a ton of followers but still can't make money, or is so stressed worrying about the followers that they're leaving money on the table because they're not adding value?
100%. It's definitely a balance. And going back to the clarity stuff, it's like if you build an audience off of entertainment and like dancing in your reels and like doing this trendy stuff.
Oh, we're not going to do the biggest TikTok dance at the end of this?
Apparently not. Well, maybe we will. But here's the thing. That's just going to lead to more eyeballs, more views, more followers. And again, sure, that's good. But if it's just going to lead to people that are not as active or like interested in your products, you're not going to make sales. So I don't think even today, I do not think the followers is like the biggest thing. And like you said, I think a lot of people use that as an excuse not to go out, like sell, promote, build an offer. So as long as you have a core audience and you know who you're trying to help, like that's the most important thing, right? And that's why the clarity is such an important thing. Is if you don't have clarity and you're just posting for the sake of posting, if you do end up going mega viral, you get some views and followers, and you don't know who you're speaking to, what you can help them with. If the content's not dialed in, can't monetize it. So that's why the clarity is always the biggest thing. Is like if you can nail that and do that from the get-go, and then even if you just grow 1,000 followers, 3K, 5K, I have many clients that are at 2,000 followers, but they're cranking like crazy months because their audience is engaged and it's the right people.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And obviously, clarity is one thing, right? And like you mentioned, you did face a lot of challenges. You did face those moments. And sometimes, I mean, you could have all the clarity in the world, but mindset is important, right? So what are some of the things that you do that you focus on that, you can share as a piece of advice that can be implemented that helped you get past those challenging moments? Like, we know you have clarity, but there's people's like, I know my clarity, I know my pitch, I know this, but they still doubt themselves. They still have that mind, that internal battle. Like, what are some of the things that you do to help you overcome that internal battle that helped you have that I'm going to win no matter what attitude?
I mean, I just thought about like, what's the alternative? I'm like,
fair enough.
Like, listen, sure, it's a little bit difficult. It might be hard. It's going to be a battle, but would I rather go and work a standard job, 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, be dictated by my hours, dictated on how much I get paid from someone else? Like, no. Like, I kind of had the mentality, like you probably heard, like the burn the boats mentality, right? It's like there's no plan B.
Right.
Like, we burn the boats. This is what we're doing. We have to succeed. So, like, again, I never doubted if I could do this. I never doubted if I would be successful. I just knew that if I kept on going day in and day out, I could not fail. Like Alex Ramosi said, he summarized it really well. He basically said, like, you cannot lose if you do not fail. Right. And so, like, let that sink in. Like, if you put in an abnormal amount of work for an abnormal amount of time, you're going to get abnormal results, which is, a good amount of money, success, good lifestyle. And I just had that just circling in my head every single day. Like, I also just had this vision of, like, it's already there. Like, I'm already successful. I've already had the success and accolades. Time just has not caught up yet.
My check's already written. I just got to go pick it up, right?
Exactly. So it's like, I just need to, like, put in the work, have this form me into the person that's deserving of hitting those goals and accolades. And I just knew it was part of the process. So I just knew I needed to trust the process, burn the boats. Like, there is no plan B. Just focus, tunnel vision in, and put in an abnormal amount of work for an abnormal amount of time. And then I'd be successful.
I couldn't agree any more with that, man. Like, I love that concept, but I know, I mean, if you're anything like me or any normal, like, real human, being genuine, right? That's one thing we want to focus on, is always giving our genuine truth. I know that mindset also, it doesn't, just because you say we're burning the ships, that doesn't mean you get instant success. I know you run into a lot of roadblocks, a lot of obstacles, a lot of, hard falling on your rear, right? So what do you feel like because I'm sure you went through many, once you decided I'm burning the ships, I'm going to make this work. What do you feel is, like, one of the biggest lessons or hardest lessons you had to learn? And what did you learn from it? How has it changed, the way you move today?
That's a really good question. I guess just not to take everything at face value. Like, make sure that you vet and audit, because, like, me investing $150K into coaching mentors, like you said in the beginning, you want to find the right people. But me testing the waters, there's always going to be those bad apples that I invest into. So I think just, like, me not doing my due diligence or, like, doing my research that I should have, and just kind of almost jump the gun a little bit, just being excited, wanting to get the leads, get the business, like, hire a agency, they're going to promise this and that, and hitting 30K months, 50K months. Next thing you know, like, they can't produce. It's like, like, I've had those experiences time and time again. And I think the reason for it, and now I realize it, hindsight, is I just trust everyone. Like, I think which is very bad for, like, the online space, right? Because there's so many, like, scammers out there and people who just don't have your best interest in mind. So I've learned to now go with my gut, but then also, like, vet people and make sure I'm asking the right questions and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I flushed thousands down the toilet just, like, hiring the wrong agencies or the wrong people. But it was a learning lesson. Now I'm very particular with who I work with.
No, that's a good one. I mean, that's one that I mention it and I bring it up all the time, man. Like, even like you said, we talked about it briefly a little second ago. It's like, I tell everyone, it doesn't matter who it is, because not everyone's a scam also. Like, it's bad to have that mindset that it's like, this is a scam, that's a scam, that's a scam. Like, you're losing out on opportunities because you're like, oh, I'm not going to do anything because everyone's a scam. There's people that really know their stuff, but I think it's just that what you have to move is kind of move a little bit slower, like you said, vet them, but take everyone's advice with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Even if they're successful, even if they're not a scam, like, go with your gut feeling a little bit more.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to trust it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like, just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Like, I hired agencies because they had crazy testimonials and results.
Right.
But because I have some little tweak in my offer, like the way this is positioned or the way I, like, my target audience, like, it just didn't pan out. It's not to say they were, like, taking my money and try to, like, scam me, but, like, they couldn't produce. So it's like, you lose some, you win some. But it's also, like you said, just vetting, taking everything with a grain of salt and figuring out, like, what is best for you in that specific situation.
Right. So with the personal brand that you've built, right, you've leveraged that brand to then, leverage for your own offers, and you've launched what's called Brand Social. Gem Social. Yeah, Brand Social is one of my things. Sorry. My bad. So with Gem Social, tell us a little bit more about Gem Social. Like, what is it? What are some of the offers? What are the things that you guys are focusing on? And, like, who are you helping with Gem Social?
Yeah. So Gem Social is essentially that's my business, my LLC, and in Gem Social, there's my program, the Bulletproof Branding Accelerator. So essentially, it's just like a accumulation of the 8 years and 150K into mentors and just my experience bundled into a 12-week program. So essentially, there's a 4-step process that we take our clients through. Typically for coaches doing 5 to 10K a month that want to scale to like 15K to 20, 30K a month. Now, the first thing we want to figure out is just dialing in the offer, figuring out like what is your core offer, making sure you're charging the right amounts, making sure we can convey that in the correct way, going through the process, the deliverables, the outcomes, timeframes. That's the first thing. Second thing is just optimizing the social media, making sure that your position as an authority in your space, you're reaching the right audience, you're clear on all the foundational things that we just touched on. Then we can move into lead generation. Again, typically I start with just organic, making sure that they can get their first 8 to 10K per month organically through outreach and through their followers and their content. And then we can get into paid down the line. And then the fourth thing is what I call scale. Now, scale is how do we create systems and processes around content creation, how to just be more efficient with your time overall. How do we delegate the lead generation, delegate editing, delegate, the whole content process itself. Just so we have like a very concise business that we're not like working 12 to 15 hours a day at. So that's typically what I help my clients with. Again, typically coaches, but I worked with people in real estate, marketing, branding, like other coaches, doing like investing, like really all kinds of stuff. So if you want to build a brand, if you want to launch an offer, if you want to make more money through your content and you just want to reach more people through your posts, then it's probably for you.
It's mainly coaches, but we service tons of different verticals in the sense of anyone with that needs a personal brand or is looking to sell something online.
There you go.
Okay, awesome, man. So, Lo, drop some game on us, right? Like, all right, we know what you're doing. Like, what are some of the like platforms that you're using? Like, when you're building with these coaches, or you're selling things online. You said you even yourself, you have a 12-week program. There's tons of people that want to drop a course. They want to drop, a mentorship program. They want to host a community. They want to do all these different things. And some of them already organically gain tons of traction online, but it's just so unorganized. It's all over the place. Like I've seen people come to me for a consult session. They've got like 19 different softwares. They're on this, they're on that. Like, what are some of the things that you're doing? Like, how are you consolidating? What are some of your favorite platforms? Are you using WAP, School, Mighty Networks? Like, what are you doing with your clients? Like, what should they be doing and where should they be looking?
Keeping it simple. That's what I try to focus on.
Yes.
Like I have clients, they have the Zapier and the softwares and AI and automations and all this crazy stuff. And it just implodes on itself. Like I even hired a team to do like GHL, like go high level on the back end for me. It's a great service, but it's like, there's just so many things you can do with it. So much potential. They start like tweaking little things, automations, email, marketing, blah, blah, blah. It just got so complicated. So really, it might be a shock, but literally all I do is I have my platform, which is Kajabi. That's where I host my course and my program. My Kajabi is hooked up to my website. So my website's also built on Kajabi. So it's all intertwined. I use Stripe for payments. I also have WAP, but it's basically the same thing. And then I also have ManyChat set up for my Instagram, just like automated messages, follow-up, stuff there, here and there. But other than that, it's like I don't really have any crazy systems and softwares. I think a lot of people, use that as an excuse not to just get into this. They're like, I don't know where to host this thing. I'm like, dude, there's so many different, like you can do School. And that's where we want to figure out, like, what do you want this offer to look like? Do you want this to be like a group and a community and they're paying monthly? Maybe School is for you. Do you want this to be more like high ticket and like really intricate and like high level? Maybe use Kajabi. Do you want this to be something where it's very low effort, low cost? I've had people set up like private YouTube channels, pop up all their videos on there, and then if they sign a client, give access to their branded private YouTube channel, and they just browse through the videos.
Simplicity sells.
And it's free. Yeah, it's free. So it's like you don't have to have these crazy softwares and AIs and automations, because literally all I have is like Stripe, Kajabi, ManyChat.
And it can be scary. It's intimidating for the client too. Where they're like, all right, we onboard you and there's 19 different things that they have to deal with. And they're like, I don't even know how to use this user interface on this thing. Like, so I know, I like that you said, keep it simple. So many times everybody thinks that there's a golden, answer, a golden key you're going to give them. And it's like, you hear it from people that are killing it consistently. It's like, Listen, man, we're just keeping it
keep it simple.
super simple. So you briefly mentioned like all the things that are going on, right? AIs and stuff. What's your opinion on AI and branding? I know that like the people that are getting in new, they're like, oh my God, this is going to kill branding. It's going to kill digital design, graphic design. It's going to kill everything. It's like, no, it's a tool that can enhance if you use it right, but also you shouldn't lose yourself in it, right? Like what are some of your opinions on it? And what are some of the AIs that you're using right now?
Yeah. I mean, I have my own AI chatbot. I use ChatGPT here and there. I'm actually a big proponent in almost going 180 away from AI. Like one thing I'm starting to realize is with all this like highly edited content, high production, like auto AI generated stuff out there, there's actually a big aversion to it in a way. It's like, oh, that's AI. Like, oh, that's not real. Like, oh, this is fake.
Yeah.
And more than ever, people are yearning for just like normal, down to earth, like real, authentic content. And people cannot take away, like one thing AI won't be able to do is really hone in that like human aspect, like the feeling seen, heard, and understood, and like having that connection. So I tell people to lean in almost the opposite way. Like, yes, use, like you said, the tools and ChatGPT and prompts and scripts and whatnot. But we don't want to get lost in the sauce. We don't want to like have that be our whole identity. And like you can almost tell in a way these days, which is funny, what is AI, like what is ChatGPT created and all that versus like just your own opinion and voice and your own you texting it out. So I tell people to go like 180, like, hey, try to be like as authentic and real and normal, be like yourself, because again, like I think the more that this AI stuff comes out, yes, we can use it to our benefit, but I think if we try to almost like join the team or like become it in a way, it's just going to backfire. Like we want to go 180 and become more natural and authentic, just sharing ourselves on camera and just being real. Like not trying to make it look perfect, not trying to have the perfect script or perfect prompt, but just like be real and like use it as like a documentation thing versus like creation and like pre-scripting and stuff like that.
Well, I love that you broke that down. Like that major shout out to you, man, right there. That might be one of those other controversial things. We might be the only two standing against right now. And I love that you mentioned that, man. I tell people all the time, you know, the way that I look at AI, especially in branding, I feel like it's like the modern day interpretation of the participation trophy. No one's fat, no one's ugly, everyone's perfect, everyone's a philosopher, everyone has the right script, everyone has the right quote to just stop and say, in life, you know, if things don't feel right, you know, go whatever. They just hit you with this like quote, doesn't it's not them. And then you meet them in person, they don't have anything to really add or contribute to the conversation. So it's like, it's okay to be you and to show those imperfections. Like if you mess up here, you know, we jumbled up in the beginning of the intro, like leave it. If you know, the phone rings, it's fine. If you stumble up and stutter on the word, keep it flowing. Like, cause the AI, while they're trying to go perfect, what's going to allow that human connection is the authenticity, the imperfections and embracing the beauty of it.
Cause it's relatable. Like if you think about it, if you're so perfect and like everything is buttoned up and perfect, like you can't relate to those people who are like in the trenches trying to build their brand and everything is messing up and everything's imploding on itself. You need to show people that, hey, you're not necessarily perfect. Like I don't have everything put together, right? Like there's still things that we all battle and we all challenge and we have to get through just as a business owner and a coach. And so sharing that creates that relatability, right? And I think even if you think about it, if you look on like TV, like a commercials are very well put together. They look great. So if we saw a commercial, what do we usually do? We skip it, click it off. Like we don't want to watch the commercial because it's too unrelatable. It's too high production, high quality. And that's why, again, I want people to almost take like a step back or take a 180 and just try to be real, like connect as if you're like on a FaceTime call because that's what creates that true connection. And that's ultimately what will lead you to more sales.
It's funny you mentioned like a commercial FaceTime call, just being authentic. Did you see it was I think it was a couple years back when Kanye did the Super Bowl commercial. I mean that's multi-million-dollar spot. He pulls up the cell phone video. It's all
dark
static
in a car.
Exactly. But I mean he sold the $20 Yeezy products and made a killing. I think he like 10x'd his return. His ROI was 10x whatever the Super Bowl commercial. You know, don't quote my numbers on it. We can Probably put it on the
he
screen
made a
somewhere.
ton of money. He didn't have to spend a lot of money on the Super Bowl commercial. It was a free little quick selfie video.
A little selfie video.
Genius.
The whole budget went to paying for the ad instead of creating the ad itself. So
Yeah.
it's so dope to see that. And I think, you know, if more people start being genuine, I feel like the world would be a lot more interesting place.
100%.
Yeah. So, you know, helping people, you know, to become a little bit more genuine, right? Obviously, not everyone's ready to hire, you know, an agency. Not everyone's ready to go do a ton of content and so forth. But what is like an entry level, you know, strategy or approach that you can offer somebody they can do today? What is something that we can leave them with a piece of advice they go implement today? Go change this, go set up this, go ask yourself this question so that they can, you know, start to move in the right, you know, direction for their brand.
Yeah. So I think having a handful of questions to ask first is key. So making sure you know, I would ask you the question of what are you skilled at? Who do you want to help? What is their pain point? And what's that core desire or outcome they want to achieve? And then answer the question, how can I help them go from point A to point B? Once we have clarity on that, then I'd recommend taking a lot of that stuff, dump it into AI or ChatGPT and say like, hey, this is my target audience. This is their pain point. This is what they struggle with. This is, and even like dive in, like you said, to some of your story, your values, like jumble that into this whole prompt in ChatGPT, and then just have it create like some scripts. Like say like based on all this information, give me like 10 topics or 10 scripts that tie in my target audience and my story and my brand and their pain points and the outcomes, and utilize those scripts to go out and create your first couple of videos. I always tell people like, I recommend posting every day or like every other day, but you don't have to start with 5 posts a week. Like that can be daunting, especially if you haven't done it yet. So just start off small, like start off posting 1 video a week. And once you do that, do 2 videos a week.
Short format, long format?
I'd say short form. Like I think that's just easier. But if you feel like you have a lot to say, long form is great. Like you post on YouTube, do long form content, take that long form stuff, put it in Opus, just clip up the little segments and little golden nuggets that maybe you can take and put it into short form, like on Instagram. So I think it just comes down to like what you feel like you're skilled at, but also what do you feel like creates the least amount of friction. Like if you hate long form content, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to possibly talk for 10 minutes on a YouTube video, then just start with, you know, short form content. But if you're like a ranter and you love just to talk, set up the phone, do your little rant, talk for 10 minutes, clip up 2 or 3 of those clips and pop them up on Instagram.
Right. Is there any platform specific that you would recommend right now that like do you feel like are kind of underrated? I know we talk a lot about, well, not just us, everyone talks a lot about Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Then you hear some stuff with like TikTok and, you know, occasionally you hear YouTube. With YouTube, I love YouTube, but you hear those same ones. Do you feel like there's any underrated platforms that people are not talking about that someone should be focusing on? Do you think everyone should start off in Instagram? Like, what is your thought on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of biased because I crushed it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say like, I just feel like Instagram is just a good melting pot of like, you can grow, but you can also get sales, you get the right audience, just like that's where you need to be. But recently YouTube, like I think YouTube is pretty underrated. I think more people should get on YouTube, post more long form. I'm using it as a strategy to basically take people from my Instagram to go to my long form stuff. Like, because you hear the cliche thing like, oh, you need like 7 hours worth of content for people to like learn about you and like get a sale. So it's hard to get 7 hours of watch time on a short form 1 minute reel versus you do like long form content on YouTube. You can get that, you can get to that point way quicker. So I don't necessarily know if YouTube's underrated, but you should be on Instagram. And then once you have Instagram dialed in, you're growing there, then you can go to YouTube.
Right. I think a lot of people want to do YouTube. YouTube's like the gym. Like everybody wants abs, but nobody wants to go do like the
It feels
crunches.
like so much work.
But I love YouTube. No pun intended. I feel like YouTube's like the farm, right? It's like YouTube, you got to go plant the seed. You're not going to instantly get the harvest, but like eventually that's going to be a crazy harvest because it's so evergreen. I like that stuff lives there forever, and it, you know, people can find it years later. You know, I got YouTube videos. I'm like, I have to focus more on my YouTube, but I got YouTube videos that like years ago. I think I posted like 5 years ago, and it's like popping off now. And I'm like, hold on, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Dope. So, you know, kind of a little bit deeper into like what you're doing with our brand, right? Is there anything like that you guys are doing that you feel like is maybe unconventional compared to like the normal way that people are handling branding? Like, what are you doing to stand against the grain? So many people nowadays, you know, it's no shot to anyone, but you grab a laptop, you get an iPhone, and suddenly I'm a marketing agency, I'm a brand agency, right? Like, what are you doing to consistently, not only just level up, but set yourself apart from, everyone in the space?
I think, well, specifically with my programs, I've designed it in a way where you get everything in a specific order, right? I feel like a lot of agencies and a lot of brand coaches, like they have one specific aspect that they're really good at, but they don't focus on like the first 2 to 3 steps to really maximize and monetize. So just like the way I go about my process is very methodical. But even going back to like the investing into like marketing or investing into shout outs, like I show my clients how to do that if they want to, right? So I think that there is an easier way to grow. There's an easier way to get out to more people. And then the other thing would be what we briefly touched on with the AI stuff, like not utilizing it to the point where it's like detriment, where like you just sound like the every other bot out there that's using like the ChatGPT prompts. But going 180 and figuring out like how can we utilize it to our benefit, but how can we still maintain and become like our own brand, like have your own voice. So I think I've just spent like so many years, even like the past 8 years, cultivating my own brand, my own voice, figuring out how can I show up more authentically on camera? How do I utilize the tools out there, but not let it consume me and like sing me, but instead just help it fuel me and like actually help me be more authentic. I'd say those are the biggest things on my side.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Is there any like dream brand that you feel like you want to work with that you haven't got to yet? Or you're like,
that's a good question. I mentioned jokingly on another podcast, like Elon Musk. I feel like if we can dial in his stuff, I don't think he even has an Instagram page.
Right.
He's kind of all over the place with X or Twitter. It's like he could I feel like he would crush it if he had a solid Instagram social media page. So that'd be cool if I could work with Elon,
Put him up there, you know what I'm saying? Get some controversy rolling. Yeah. You want to help, we should help Trump's page out a little bit too, right? My God, hold on. Okay. So, leaving the audience, right, with a piece of advice, like what is, doesn't have to only be about brand or anything, just can be brand, life. You've experienced so much in a short period of time. What's a piece of advice that you feel like you can leave our audience with that, kind of guide them in the right direction?
I'd say at the end of the day, like it comes down to taking action. Like we literally make so many excuses and stories in our head for like why we should delay launching an offer, why we should delay building a brand, why we shouldn't start this thing now, why we shouldn't, produce content. And I think a lot of this stuff just comes down to excuses, right? Like you could watch this whole show for a full hour or however long it's been, and you could watch it, put your phone away, go chill on the couch and watch TV. Or you could take this and you could actually like implement it, take notes, right? Take the stuff you learned and like start actually implementing that, right? And so I think the biggest thing that's helped me is like I just take radical action, right? Like I think speed of iteration is super underrated. Like I even noticed this with my coaches and even just with myself personally. The time that it takes for someone to learn something new and implement it will almost always dictate their success. Like I'm the type of guy where like you tell me something, you say, hey, go do X, Y, and Z. The next minute or the next day, I'm doing it. Right. So with you guys, like if you want to have a chance at building a brand, launching an offer, like really building out a sustainable business, that speed of iteration is crucial. So if I have to leave you with anything, whatever you learned here, whether it's like a small golden nugget or a whole seminar worth of information and value, take that stuff and start iterating and start implementing as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So, I mean, another thing, right? You kind of mentioned earlier, a point of your career that helped you, move forward as quickly as you did and accelerate it was COVID, right? And everybody's like, well, you can't relive the COVID moment or anything, right? So, do you feel like there's anything else that people should be that you see now, maybe a trend or something that they can? And I say trend lightly because I don't think you should always be looking to hop on a trend. But is there anything that people should be keeping an eye out for, an opportunity that's maybe underutilized or maybe still early on that you're noticing, that you're focusing on, so that way it could help towards brand or the next positioning of branding and where personal branding is going?
That's a good question. I kind of almost have the inverse. Like, I don't think there are any specific trends, at least that I have seen, versus stuff that will be coming out that could kind of screw with your chances of building a successful brand. So going back to AI, it's like, in my opinion, like I don't know what you think, but I think it's just going to get harder and harder to build like a really solid personal brand.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we're almost like in this like golden age of like we're still human. Like you still know like human content versus AI content. Like AI is just like going to radically speed things up. It's going to change the entire environment of social media in and of itself. So I feel like we're still in this trend or like this phase of branding where you still have a shot to like go out and build your own personal brand, go do the speaking events, like actually like have your own voice and have like a human brand. Whereas in the next, I don't know, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, like it could look completely different.
I absolutely agree with you. Like I said earlier, man, the participation trophy, it's everyone's a winner, everyone's perfect. So I think what you said, you couldn't have hit it more on the head. It's like, if you're going to do it, you need to do it now.
Yeah.
It needs to be genuine and not try to be perfect now, because if we're in an age where you have to be good, like you really have to be as good as you think you are, and stay consistent. I don't mean to be perfect. There's a difference, but I think you have to be good. You have to know what you're talking about. Actually take the second to read and do your own research, not depend on the research of AI. Right? Actually be able to go back and quote some of the books or some of the mentors you learned from or so forth. So it's getting to the moment where you have to really know yourself, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Is there anything else like different verticals or offers outside of branding, right? So like beyond just personal branding, is there anything that you see potential that you're maybe testing out or maybe you want to get into, moving into the next year, like more events, like in-person events, more digital events? I know a lot of people are doing challenges, right? They're doing the Zoom group things. Like, is there anything that you're like, okay, I think I want to start putting some effort towards that?
Yeah, I would definitely say webinars. I think I've seen Dan Henry, you got Alex Ramosi, they're cranking webinars. Even Alex, he said that one thing that people are starting to do, which this could go back to the trend question, which is like lives, like talking on lives, or even just like doing like broadcasts. Like if you look at some of these Twitch streamers, they have a massive diehard fan base because their fans are like with them 24/7. They're looking at them eat. They're looking at them hanging out and just chilling.
Like they're friends.
Yeah, they're like friends. It's like a FaceTime call in a way. So I want to go more into like webinars, more doing live events, live workshops and stuff like that. I get people online. I'd say like way down the line. Probably investing into like softwares. I think stuff like Dan Martelli's doing, like AI softwares and stuff like that. I think like being able to like take whatever I make in the personal branding coaching and like take that and actually invest it into some kind of software or business model that really will help you make it big. Because I feel like there's only so much you can make in the info space. There's only so much you can do doing personal branding or coaching. But when you have like a software, like a service or like an AI tool,
SaaS is crazy.
Yeah, like that's
crazy exits on those things, bro.
Yeah, that's what blows up when you exit. So yeah, I think something like that way down the line. But for now, like I'd say webinars, live events, stuff like that.
Awesome. Love to hear it. I'm excited to see some more webinars from you. Excited to see some live events, man. That's something we're working on as well as an agency. We're doing a lot more live events, which we'd love to have you come out to one. The live events been doing great for us, man. We're getting hundreds and hundreds each time. They keep growing. So the next one should be interesting. We'll definitely send you the info for that. That's what I actually messed up and stumbled on earlier. The brand social, not Gem Social is doing amazing things, but the brand social are the live events that we're doing. So we're
interesting.
500 to 700 people on average. So we'd love to have you come out and experience that and add value to our audience here in Tampa, Florida. So
yeah, I appreciate that. That'd be sick.
So to close out, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate just getting your perspective on branding. I'm sure we could talk for hours, right? We tried to condense so much into a short period of time. I kind of want you to look at the camera for a second, right? Forget about me. I believe this is your camera right here, right? Look dead at your camera, and I want you to leave your audience, the last thing, with your next mark my words statement. What is the next goal? What are some of the things you're working like? What is that mark my words, I will for Joe Mccarthy?
Mark my words, I will be the #1 personal branding entrepreneur in the world by 2030. I'll have a $10 million business, cranking 6-figure months, month after month, and you will know the name Joe Mccarthy.
That is awesome. I love that he even said that on Mark My Words, right? Because now he's going to push me to go even harder, right? Here we go. It's friendly competition, my guy. Listen, we appreciate you so much. It's been an honor here to, try to have this condensed conversation when there's so many things that we can hit. Who knows, down the road, we probably get a episode 2 or a second part to this. But we appreciate your time, guys. We hope you add a lot of value that was dropped here. And again, make sure you check out Joe McCarthy at, what's the Instagram?
At Real Joe McCarthy.
At Real Joe McCarthy. Check out everything that he's doing and make sure that you tap in and continue to watch and engage with us here at the Mark My Words podcast as we continue to bring more genuine, hustling, authentic, not perfect, but still moving forward, determined, ambitious entrepreneurs and brand owners to share their stories with you. So we appreciate your time. We appreciate Mr. Joe McCarthy, and we can't wait to see you at the next episode of Mark My Words.